Versatile Mage. Chapter 117. The Miraculous Healing Element. After he put Yi Xingxia on her wheelchair, Mo Fan suddenly felt dizzy. As Yi Xingxia realized this, she asked, "What's wrong?" "Don't worry, I'm just a little dizzy," Mo Fan replied, his head spinning a bit. Thinking of it, ever since he left the underground holy spring, he hadn't had any rest. There were so many wounds on his body which he hadn't taken care of, and his mental focus was also exhausted. He wanted to take Yi Xingxia and leave this place. However, in his current state, he was no longer able to use intermediate magic, which required a large amount of magic energy. This worried Mo Fan considerably. "Your arm is bleeding profusely. You have lost too much blood." Yi Xingxia quickly discovered the astonishing wound on Mo Fan's arm. That wound was casually wrapped with a cloth. However, it hadn't stopped the bleeding. "Oh. When I was dealing with the black beast monsters before," Mo Fan only now realized this, and his wound was fairly painful. "Put it here." Yi Xingxia put Mo Fan's wounded arm on her thighs. Even with her silk skirt in between them, Mo Fan could still feel Yi Xingxia's smooth thighs. As his wrist accidentally touched them, her beautiful legs revealed a shocking elasticity. The pain and blood loss was soon put to the back of his mind. Yi Xingxia's thighs didn't have any scars, nor did they seem misshapen or withered. When she was sitting down, she looked the same as any other girl. Furthermore, with her wearing a skirt, she possessed the beauty of a delicate piece of art, and a natural snowy white skin. Her jade-like radiance was at a level that completely infatuated others. Perhaps her two legs were too beautiful, and that was why the heavens had taken away her most important thing. No strength. Her two legs didn't have any bit of strength. She was able to walk, but only a few steps before she would begin to gasp for air. It wasn't that she didn't regularly see any doctors, but even they couldn't do anything about her problem. The more expensive hospitals were not something they could afford, so they could only delay this matter. As Mo Fan was enjoying this special treatment, a bizarre energy slowly emerged from Yi Xingxia's body. A pure white light appeared on Yi Xingxia's delicate fingertips. They blossomed with a distinctive luster, similar to water, flowing gently. These pure white lights slowly gathered within Yi Xingxia's small palms. She closed her beautiful eyes as she put her hand on Mo Fan's large wound. An itchy feeling quickly came through. Mo Fan saw his wound on his arm being slowly healed by the white light. They were just like a group of active, living spirits as they gathered on Mo Fan's injured flesh and reconnected his severed veins. While healing Mo Fan, she was able to maintain her energy. As Mo Fan saw this, he felt a bit astonished. The cut on his arm was healing at a visible speed. The gash around his elbow also began to heal, followed by the one on his shoulder also slowly mending itself. This kind of feeling, if you were to view the wound like a zipper, then healing was like someone slowly pulling the zipper up. Furthermore, the wound was no longer visible after the zipper was pulled up, leaving behind intact flesh. This was the healing element. This was the ability of the healing element. Mo Fan was filled with disbelief as he looked at Yi Xingxia, who had her eyes closed. Looking at her fully concentrating, his heart began to feel waves of astonishment. He had nearly forgotten that Xingxia was a healing elemental magician, the first person in the entirety of Bo City who had gotten this element on their first awakening. The vast majority of people awakened a classical element on their first awakening: wind, fire, water, ice, lightning, light, or earth. However, there were bound to be exceptions amongst humans. Other than the classical elements that were awakened on their first try, there was also white magic, black magic, and dimensional magic. The healing element belonged to white magic. Normally, you would only be able to find intermediate magicians who possessed healing magic. People like Yi Xingxia who awakened it on their first awakening were extremely rare. Beneath the warm glow of healing, his drowsy feeling from before had also vanished. It was clear that other than restoring his wounds, healing was also able to replenish lost blood to a certain degree. This event caused Mo Fan to be extremely happy. He never thought that his precious little Xinxia would have such an incomparable ability. If she was brought to the safety shelters, then Yi Xinxia would instantly become a very important person. After all, there was not a single medicine or method that could possibly be better than Yi Xingxia's ability to heal wounds. Xingxia, how strong is the effect of your healing? If you were to use healing right after someone had their throat severed, would you be able to save them? Mo Fan asked excitedly. Yi Xingxia shook her head. Healing is useless if your life is taken instantly. Oh, this is already very impressive. Mo Fan nodded. The veteran hunters, those who frequently fought magical beasts out in the wild, knew something. What truly killed you was not necessarily the attacks of a magical beast, but the accumulated wounds on your body. Wounds could bleed, get infected, worsen, and if you didn't get your wounds checked in time, then it was the equivalent of your life chipping away. Other than rations and water, the large majority of the veterans would bring medicine. Unfortunately, the effects of the medicine were far too slow, and were unable to keep up with the veterans who were always battling. If the squad had a healing magician, then this would no longer be a problem. Sometimes, it would be even more useful than defensive magic equipment. It would also substantially decrease the mortality rate of the squads, especially the squads that went on long and difficult treks. Are there any other wounds? Yi Xingxia cautiously inspected Mo Fan. Her small hand swept past Mo Fan's flesh without even touching his skin. The small wounds on his body instantly healed, including the bruises, bumps, and splash wounds. This miraculous event made Mo Fan also want this type of ability. Not long after, Mo Fan was completely healed. Despite the ragged clothes on his body, there were no bruises to be seen, and even his scars had completely disappeared. Haha. So it turns out my Xingxia is this amazing. Say, how about we start a clinic for removing scars? Who knows how much money we would be able to make? Mo Fan couldn't help but say this. Yi Xingxia gave him a supercilious look. Mo Fan also felt that he was being a bit immature. In any case, they were both divine magicians now. With his wounds no longer a burden, Mo Fan felt very comfortable. After gathering his spirit, Mo Fan pleasantly discovered the magic energy within his nebula had also restored itself a little. In this case, it meant he was still able to use intermediate level magic, and that would mean the magical beasts wouldn't be able to stop him. Chapter end. Please guys like, comment, share, and subscribe.